Here's a question for you guys. What do you think is the gaming genre that's been experimented with the most? Some of you might say adventure games and argue its evolution from text-based adventures to point-and-clicks and even choose-your-own-adventure Telltale-likes. And some of you might say RPGs or shooters, which sure, those genres have seen significant evolution as well. But personally, I'd put my money on the platformers. Mechanically, it's a very simple genre. Run, jump, and don't fall into any pits or obstacles. But I think what makes platformers in particular so interesting is the sheer amount of ways that they've been approached. You have some platformers that challenge perspective, and others add physics and precision into the equation. And some platformers might have put some combat or rhythm into the formula, while others turn the world on itself entirely. And that's not even getting to the controls of it all. Here's a quick reminder that when 3D platformers and analog sticks were still new, a lot of these platformer games relied on tank controls or their own innovative schemes before everything started to get normalized. But what about a platformer that decided to continue innovating its control scheme well after we became familiar with games that play like this, and this, and this? Well, in that case you'd get Gurumin, a Japanese platformer released in 2004 by Nihon Falcom. They're the team behind Ys and Trails and whatever other JRPGs you keep postponing. But here's the thing about Gurumin. Do you see that red arrow on the screen right there? That's a mouse cursor because you actually play this game with your mouse. The reason why you don't play this game with a controller that has standard 3D controls is because Gurumin is a rarity, a 3D platformer that was released initially and exclusively on PC. You know, long before the days of independent game development becoming as huge as it is now. This game didn't innovate out of a desire to be unique, but necessity. Gurumin would come to the PSP and 3DS a number of years later, and those versions use their control sticks obviously. But I didn't play through those, so I can't really comment on them. I specifically played through the 2015 North American re-release of this game that was published by another company called Mastiff. These guys also published Technic Beat and that gritty version of Space Invaders. Does anyone remember those? But I should stop for a moment and give credit, because to tell you guys the truth, I wasn't expecting to make this video at all. A friend of mine, Sandy, sent me a Steam code for this game out of the complete blue one day, and I didn't really ask why either. Maybe he thought this game would be up my alley, maybe he thought it would be a good topic for a video, maybe he just had a spare code lying around and picked me randomly out of everyone on his friends list. I don't know, but I always like to give credit when it's due, so thanks again, Sandy. Also, if you guys have any other games that you think would be up my alley and would like for me to talk about, just let me know and I'll check them out. I like anything peculiar. Alright, let's finally talk about this game called Gurumin. The story goes that you're a kid named Perrin who goes to live in a little town with your grandpa after your parents go away somewhere. But it happens to be a town where everyone must be celibate or something because there's no other children here, and that bores Perrin. That is until she eventually discovers that there are other children here, but they turn out to actually be monsters who were only visible to children. Things go really well too. Perrin's made friends and now she's no longer bored. But of course this game can't start on a happy note. Eventually the nice friendly monsters all get attacked by even worse monsters called the Phantoms. They end up having their little town destroyed and all their possessions get lost. So Perrin decides to help them, and the nice monsters give her possession of a drill that was once used as a weapon by a legendary hero in the past. And after that, you're free to play the game as you wish. I'll get back to the controls and gameplay in a second. There's just one thing I quickly want to mention about this game that actually kinda caught me off guard. I was surprised by how interested I ended up being in this game's story. Like, I don't think it was great or groundbreaking, but it actually held my attention, and it even got me to laugh a couple times. I think it's because, as childish as this game seems, it had some dialogue and moments that made me think for a second. You know, this game could be mature at times when it wanted to. Maybe a bit too mature though. Why is this guy openly hitting on Perrin and snooping on her when she's changing clothes, when they explicitly say at the beginning of the game that she's the only child here? We didn't really need this in a game that looks like this.
But yeah, for the most part, I really enjoyed this game's writing. I'm also gonna give this game props for making Perrin's weapon of choice a drill of all things. Swords are boring, man. Give me fun shit like yo-yos and crab traps that have blades hidden inside of them. You might notice some recognizable voices in this game too. Steve Bloom, Robin Atkin Downs, Tara Strong, D. Bradley Baker, and more. I wasn't really expecting this quality voice cast for Gurumin of all games, but it's welcome. So back on the gameplay. Gurumin is a platformer with some action as well. Right click moves Perrin towards the cursor, double right click dodges, left click attacks, and the middle mouse makes you jump. And for those of you who might be wondering about the lack of camera control, as that's usually handled by your mouse, don't worry, because you can actually control the camera with your keyboard's arrow keys. It didn't feel very intuitive playing the game this way, but I didn't really hate using the mouse either. I mean, everything was responsive, and the only time I really needed to control the camera was for things like precise jumps, or if I wanted to see if an enemy was around the corner or something. Speaking of these Phantom guys, they actually do a lot more with this game's combat than I was expecting. As I've said already, left click makes you attack, but you can buy these upgrades for new techniques that let you do stuff like home in on your enemies with a flying attack. Or you can spin the mouse around Perrin to let her do a spinning attack. Or, if you add a dodge before doing the spin attack, she'll shoot off whatever energy is attached to her drill. And the fun with the combat doesn't just stop with the techniques that you can do. Do you see that bar at the top of the screen? That's actually keeping rhythm with the background music. And if you hit an enemy or object on beat, you'll not only do a crit, but level up your drill as well, which makes it stronger and changes its appearance. Most of the time, I didn't really care to keep a beat when I was fighting these enemies. I just wanted to attack them and move on. But I got crits constantly anyways, so it's not something that you have to worry about trying to maintain. Each attack was a coin toss that felt like it was in my favor. I honestly thought that the music was going to be a bigger part of this game's identity than it actually was too, because there's a whole tutorial for the crit system. And in one of the game's earliest cutscenes, you see this guy grooving and getting his thing on, which made me think, oh yeah, this is a music game, let's go. But no, it's not really, and I was a bit disappointed by that. Wait a second, where's our mouse cursor? Alright, so here's the other thing about Gurumin. I haven't been entirely truthful with you guys again. I only played through like the first quarter of this game with the mouse. You don't need it to beat this game at all. The truth is, you can control this game just fine with your keyboard. However, I personally skipped over using mouse and keyboard controls entirely because this version of the game is controller compatible. I got through the game just fine using my Xbox controller. In fact, it even seems that Bill Swartz, the president of Mastiff, expected most players to play the game this way.
And that was actually another thing. In all honesty, the reason I think you find it natural in the Xbox controller is that's kind of what we figured people would be playing with. You know, I'm playing with my keyboard and the mouse most of the time, probably with the Japanese image strong in my mind, which made me a little less sensitive. And then, you know, we played on the Xbox controller. And I don't think we'd fully understood how many users out there would be playing with, you know, $14.99 Kmart controllers.
Novel as Gurumin is though, I think it has its fair share of issues as well. My biggest problem with this game lies in the gameplay loop and mission structure. How it works is you'll be running around in overworld and you get to choose which level you want to tackle. So you pick a level, you run through a dungeon, and at the end of it, you collect a piece of furniture or something else that you can bring back to a character and they'll open up more of the map for you. Rinse and repeat. It sounds simple enough, right? Well, that's exactly my problem. It's a little too simple. These dungeons are just not interesting at all design-wise. I mean, sure, you'll have an occasional boss battle or annoyingly case-sensitive puzzle to break things up, but it's not enough. The Phantoms were fun to fight. I thought they provided some much-needed variety, but not enough that I felt engaged the entire way through this game. I ran past a lot of these guys once I realized I didn't have to battle all of them. And I swear, the only reason why it took me as long to beat this game as it did is because I enjoyed destroying the environment in these levels. Have you ever played a Lego game? You get coins for destruction in Gurumin just like you do in those. And I do suggest going out of your way so you can get some extra money that you can spend on healing items, or those techniques that I mentioned earlier.
But once you're well stocked and all leveled up, I suggest just skipping past anything that you're not required to do. The combat can be fun. I don't want to make it sound like I was miserable playing through this game, but these dungeons take like 5 minutes tops to run through, and I didn't see the risk in taking unnecessary damage. The game just overstays its welcome in my opinion, and they do as much as they can to extend the experience. Here's something else I didn't mention yet. After you beat a stage and bring the necessary furniture back to Monster Town, you get to play through the level again, but in reverse. Once I realized what I was doing, I honestly started to check out with this game.
And listen, I realize that I'm probably coming off as a stick in the mud or something for ranting about what's essentially a cute little RPG for kids. I understand not every game needs the depth of something like a Megami Tensei with a complex story or gameplay mechanics. Hell, I realized that I was probably taking Gurumin a little too seriously while I was playing it, so I dropped it. I don't usually play through multiple games at once, but I actually put this game down for just a day or two and started playing through something else because I was growing pretty tired of Gurumin. Stay tuned, by the way.
You see, normally when a game pushes me to this point of boredom, I'll just scrap the video entirely, but I thought Gurumin was too novel to give up on, so I did eventually return to it. And while I didn't necessarily get a fresh and renewed look at the gameplay after coming back, I still thought the gameplay here was pretty repetitive and uninteresting for the most part. I did get a slightly different understanding of how best to approach this game. I think this is definitely a game you want to play in bursts. Don't try and rush the experience like I did with this one, because you're probably gonna get burned out just like I did. I have to imagine this game was most at home on handhelds. You know, things where you could pick it up for a minute and beat a level or two and then put it back down. I probably would have enjoyed playing through this game way more on 3DS. I'm starting to realize that I might sound completely pessimistic about this game though, and I don't want it to come off that way because there were things in Gurumin that I did like. For starters, I was a fan of how the game looks. I liked the low poly models and their flat colors. I wasn't crazy about any of the enemy designs, but I liked some of the environments and settings as well. There were some areas in this game that honestly made me feel like I was playing a dead MMO or something. I also liked the customization here. Some of you may have noticed the different hats and masks that Perrin wears, and these all come with their own passive effects that can come in handy. Some of them do things like letting you stay in water without taking damage, and others give you lifesteal when you crit. You can also upgrade these whenever you're back in the human town to have damage reduction, or increased attack, or whatever else. I highly suggest you do this, by the way, because it can turn simple damage reduction from certain attacks to complete nullification. And for those of you who really care about changing your look, you can also buy matching outfits that go along with a lot of these hats. This also gives you some incentive to replay the game, as some of these you can only obtain after completing certain difficulties or challenges. I'm pretty sure these outfits are all just for cosmetic purposes only, but I mean, when are bonus customs ever not a cool reward? And if you really want to dig a little deeper with this game, you can find some hidden items to do these little side quests, which usually reward you with some desktop wallpapers. I think that's a cool prize. Is it cool or cute or charming enough that I feel comfortable recommending this game though? Well, no, I can't say so. I mean, for the asking price of $10, I don't think this game is a bad pickup at all. It's not a bad game, and I think you could do way worse for that price. There's a lot of content for you to unlock and discover here as well, just not a lot of it is interesting. I just don't think that this is a game that you should go out of your way to purchase unless you really want it in your collection. Take away the novelty of being mouse controlled, and I don't think this game is doing anything special. I mean, who's to say whether or not I would have even given this game a chance if it wasn't gifted to me? I'm not singing the game's praises, but I don't want to sound ungrateful either.
Do you guys care about Gurumin spoilers? Do you really? Well, if you do, here's your one and only warning. In-game spoilers incoming, like right now. Right now. So at the end of the game, after you save the day, Monster Town ends up becoming invisible to everyone, children included, and Perrin has to say goodbye to all of her new friends. It's a pretty sad moment for everyone, especially Perrin, as she has to deal with being all alone again. However, right at the end of the game's credits, you can see that there's a new girl that's moved into the town, meaning that Perrin won't be alone anymore. Now, if this were any other game, the story would stop right there. It's an alright ending. But if you decide to play New Game Plus from your clear data, you'll see that there's someone in town waiting for you. Someone who isn't there normally. It's the same exact girl that Perrin made friends with at the end of the game. Her name is Popone, and if you talk to her, she'll give you hints and also point out Perrin's drill, while mentioning that she has a weapon of her own that she'll show to us when she's ready. You know what this means, right? You need to complete the game all over again, but on a separate difficulty. And not just once, but 3 separate times on harder and harder difficulties. This is when I had to sit back and ask myself, do I really want to play through all of Gurumin again just to see what other secrets this game might be hiding? And reluctantly, I started playing the new game. So, I did the tutorial again. I ran past all the enemies. I only collected what was necessary. I only bought what was necessary. I did all the box puzzles, all the torch puzzles, all the keyboard puzzles. I cheesed all the bosses. I'm pulling your leg. I didn't do any of that stuff a second time. I just downloaded someone's 100% save file from the internet and saw what I didn't bother unlocking that way. And here it is. You can play as Popone and use her diamond sword. She actually calls it her Dragon Slayer, which means there's a non-zero chance that this game takes place in the same universe as Berserk.
Taste my Dragon Slayer!
But listen, I do think it's a cool reward when games have deep secrets like this. I think it's especially cool when they're playable characters. But thank you to whoever uploaded this save, because this wouldn't have been worth the time investment for me. Honestly, if I did play through this game 3 more times myself, just for this, I probably would have gone from feeling pretty about Gurumin to just straight up hating it. But for real this time, that's all I have to say about Gurumin. You can skip this one. Just play Mystical Ninja starring Goemon.